There are three types of people here on our faraway island: native Nantucketers, summer folk, and the rest of us, the wash-ashores. What draws us to this island gem? Love, family, work, new beginnings? And what keeps us here? Everyone has a story. Here are a few of them.
I grew up in Virginia, a small town. I met Phil, my husband, and we became engaged and were to be married in October of 1945. I'd heard of Martha's Vineyard for some reason, I don't know why, but never heard of Nantucket. We both decided that I should come to Nantucket and meet his family, which we came over the 4th of July in 1945. And the Murrays always went on a family picnic to the beach. They made homemade ice cream in the old-fashioned churn freezer. So that was my first experience in Nantucket. So we were married on July 15th. We lived in Richmond 5 years. His father wanted him to come back and go into Murray's Toggery, and we moved here in 1951. And I had said, when I'd been all over Nantucket, if I ever did live in Nantucket, I'd like to live in Monomoy. So we bought our first lot for $1,000. And my father-in-law said, "That sand pit, get your money back."
I wanted to marry her. I had rented a limo, and I had taken her back to the house, and she said, "What's this doing here?" So I surprised her and said, "We're going to Nantucket for a week."
Well, and we should say that my best friend from college was staying in the Somerset Cottages, just up the road, and we had planned on, staying with her for a night or two, but we couldn't get to the island, right? It was sold out flights.
So we took the limo, and going through Connecticut, I don't know what time it was in the morning, early in the morning.
John's trying to fiddle around, and he gets down on the floor of the limousine, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" The next thing you know, he's proposing.
Thank goodness she said yes, because it would have been a very long week, and caught the first High Line. But as soon as we got up to Brant Point, we just started to shuttle around, and as you're clearing the lighthouse, I saw the skyline of Nantucket and the church steeple, and you can see, the slips and docks, and I just turned to Susan. I said, "One day we absolutely have to live here. This is, I'm sold."
My parents heard about Nantucket, and with another couple, they braved coming out here in 1947. And then the following year, in 1948, I guess, they asked if I would like to come with them. And I had a child at that time, and I said, "You want me to bring her?" "Sure. We'll rent a room for you and Betsy, and we'll all be together." And that was the last time I ever spent any summer any place except Nantucket. In 1975, going home in the car, then one of us made the comment, "We're going home to the real world." And the other one said, "Which is really the real world?" And we decided this was the real world, and we were going to quit our jobs. The kids were all out of school, and we were going to move here. And we did.
So I walk down Straight Wharf, and as I'm about to turn into Captain Toby's, I look and I see a sign hanging over the sidewalk, and it says Straight Wharf Theater. Straight Wharf Theater, and I've just done my first play up at Bates, like 2 weeks before. I think theater. So anyway, I try the door's open. I hear voices inside the theater. And I crack open the door and I look inside, and there's people on the stage. I hear psst, psst, come here. And I look, and there's a woman, an elderly woman and a husband, both well-dressed, sitting in the back row. They go, "Here." She goes, "Sit down. What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I told her the story. I just did my first play. I was going for a beer. She said, "Well, you have to meet Mac." And so at the first break in rehearsal, she calls for Mac Dixon. She says, Mac, come here, I want you to meet someone." And he walks over to me and he says, Shay. And I went, yeah, Shay. He said, so can you do an Irish accent? And I said, well, I could fake one. And he said, good answer. He said, take this. And he hands me the script to the play that he's got in his hand. And he said, go backstage, you're about to make your entrance. I said, what? He said, we have opening night, we're one man short. I just lost the guy who's playing the second furniture removal man. And it turns out that I had stumbled into the final dress rehearsal for Juno and the Paycock by Sean O'Casey. It was a great play, and I met all these great people, and they just opened their arms to me, and it was fantastic. So at the end of the first week, he hands me a $10 bill. I go, what's this for? He said, well, welcome to the theater. You're now a professional, and I expect you to act like one.
I came to the States back in 1999, so it's 17 years ago. I came as a student with a goal to study. I was chasing a girlfriend. During the recess in the summertime, I found out there's an island, and I found a big Lithuanian community, friends of my age, students, and just a great group. The island has some kind of mixed feelings, because once you lived on the island long enough, you start to hate it, but it comes naturally to you again. But in the long run, you can't live without it. We have both now have fallen in love with this island.
And one day I'm reading a trade journal in bed.
Which says a lot about my sex life.
And there's an ad, and it says Nantucket. And I nudged Garth and said, look, it says Nantucket. And he said, oh, gee, nobody gets a job looking in a newspaper. And I said, but I think I'll call. So I called, and the director of the NHA's name was Jean Weber. So then it's Jean and Jean. It turns out she's a Scotswoman, and I am too. So I was invited to come over to Nantucket.
I was still working, and I decided I'll travel backwards and forwards, and then I decided to heck with this. I'll see her once or twice a year, or else I'll quit my job and come here. And so that's what I did.
Because every time I go off island and I come back, I go, oh,
that's
so
true.
great to
That's
be
true.
back.
So
I think
she's
it's
right.
still there.
You get a little jaded when you live here. You think the whole world is a bit like this. And then when you go off and come back, you really appreciate how nice it is,
So back in September 2001, I was living in South Florida. I really felt like I needed a change in my life. I wanted something different. I kind of outgrown everything in Florida. And a friend of mine lived on Nantucket. She invited me to come to Nantucket. She said that the lifestyle here was really laid back and relaxing and very chilled. So instead of coming to visit, just to visit, I decided that I was really ready for a change. So I just packed up my apartment, put it all in a U-Haul, and drove up and came to Nantucket on the slow boat. This was like a hidden gem. When I seen Nantucket, I was just like, wow, this looks incredible. The sense of the community on Nantucket is incredible, and I'd never felt anything like that. And it gradually, I feel like I always say to people when they come to the island, like new people, this island either embraces you or not. Like if you give to the island and to your community, then the island will totally give to you in so many ways.
My first trip to Nantucket was fabulous. I went fishing with my brother and Tom Malesko. We left Nantucket Harbor, went across to Tuckernuck, and Tom pulls his boat into the beach and hands me a fly rod. It says, cast over there. Well, I set up Eric's gear. I made one cast and hooked into a striper, a keeper. I was hooked. Everyone who comes to Nantucket has a story. What's yours?
I was so struck by the grayness and the absolute peace and quiet. I mean, it was sort of like going to a place for a retreat.
For me, Nantucket is a place of spiritual rebirth and romance.
And I can't imagine living anywhere else.